Secretary concerned about implementation of procurement legislation. Mega farms are to be established in phases. CARICOM prioritizes inter-regional travel. And in sport, Goodwood FC scores first win in Tobago Football League. Good evening, I'm Patricia Nicholson-Richards. This is the Tobago Updates television news for Thursday, 6th July, 2023. Topping the news tonight, amid concerns about contractors hired for jobs through the THA, comes the new procurement legislation that can affect eligibility of businessmen to tender for jobs. Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development Trevor James is worried that enough time is not afforded to state agencies and contractors to comply with the new requirements to ensure work continues unhindered. Here are the details.
For over 8 years, critics called for the government to implement new procurement legislation, and on April 20th this year, it was proclaimed. However, compliance with the new legislation is not an overnight fix. Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development Trevor James noted complications.
Every agent of the state that wants to procure something has to be able to go onto the OPR website and to be able to see who are the vendors who have registered in what area.
The OPR-approved vendor list makes no distinction between contractors from Trinidad or Tobago. It only matters if they comply with the regulations, and James said it has far-reaching consequences.
Because today, we couldn't buy toilet paper because no supermarket has been registered. If we had to go according to the letter of the law, we couldn't buy paper or ink.
The division has its own procurement unit with a list of approved vendors. They attempted to have the officer of the procurement regulator absorb the list into the system, but were unsuccessful.
We've been asking for our depository from PCO to be subsumed into the OPR, and they have refused, and I think they are not going to approve that. So those who are registered with the PCO in Tobago, that registration is going to be nullified by this new legislation.
James is now worried about the eligibility of Tobago contractors and suppliers to do business with the THA.
What happens if no company in Tobago registered? What happens if no company, if only 10 companies in Trinidad registered?
James called on the government to allow 6 months to ensure all current vendors already approved by the THA and other government agencies are registered with the OPR.
So because the time is coming when if you are not registered, you will not be able to contract with the THA.
I am Candace Jackson, reporting for Tobago Updates Television News.
Well, there is support for the new procurement legislation from the Tobago Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Despite the concerns raised by the Secretary of Infrastructure, Chamber Chairman Curtis Williams welcomes it.
This bill will enable all ministries, state enterprises, and statutory bodies, including the THA, to be transparent in the award of contracts. It also allows service providers and contractors to seek redress when these agencies or ministries, including the Tobago Assembly, fail to pay you, the contractor, within the terms and conditions of the contract.
When asked if they had any concerns about the process of registering with the Office of the Procurement Regulator, Williams said it is a small hurdle to overcome.
Yes, it might be a bit tedious to get on board initially, but we at the Chamber Tobago Division currently, through our Business Development Committee, will have available soon a workshop to assist all business owners in Tobago on island who are desirous in doing business with the THA or government.
That will be open to all businesses and entrepreneurs operating within the Tobago space, whether they are members of the Chamber or not. The news now. Following the weather-related incidents on Tuesday, the director of the Tobago Emergency Management Agency, Alan Stewart, is advising the public to exercise caution. He stated that the hurricane season has just started and that Tuesday's events may be indicative of how severe the weather can become. Appearing on the Tobago Updates morning show, Stewart provided some advice for Tobagonians. Here's Tanika Cruikshank with more.
Director of TEMA, Alan Stewart, provided an update on its incidents and hurricane preparedness. He claimed that he was surprised to only see 12 reports on weather-related incidents on Tuesday, 4 July 2023, despite the occurrence of high gusts of winds and heavy rain. He believed that it is a sign of what can be expected during the hurricane season.
At this stage of we're not accustomed seeing this type of weather, although this is a repetition of what we saw last year. This wave generated gusts up to 65 kilometers per hour. And sustained winds, as the meteorological service at Crown Point would have indicated, of 30 kilometers per hour in terms of sustained winds.
Stewart stated that there were 2 structural damages on the islands reported, causing the occupants to be evacuated and transported to a secure temporary location. TEMA houses displaced residents for 72 hours, and then the relevant state agencies from social services continued with care.
In the Marysville area, a roof, 75% of the roof was blown off, and the debris of that roof collided with another neighboring structure, a residential property, causing structural damages to the property.
TEMA and first responders were able to coordinate and provide relief despite obstacles. However, due to limited resources, the provision of assistance is restricted. Stewart stressed that residents must do their part to maintain their houses so that they can withstand the possibility of adverse weather conditions.
These winds can remove your roof, so you want to pay attention to your roof, to your buildings. Ensure that especially the edge of your roofs are well secured, especially if you're living along between Lambo, go straight up to Speyside.
Stewart said that because of the threat, families should stock up on emergency supplies, prepare their evacuation routes, and know to call 211 in an emergency. This is Tanika Cruikshank for Tobago Updates Television News.
Staying with weather-related news, heat, sweat and cold drinking water took the front stage at the start of the week as it was recorded as the hottest day ever, according to scientists. The average temperature around the world was 62.62 degrees Fahrenheit or 17.01 degrees Celsius. The previous record was on August 16th, with a temperature of 62.46 degrees Fahrenheit, or just below 17 degrees Celsius. While the record was noted, scientists described the events of July 3rd as a death sentence for people and ecosystems. Furthermore, scientists stated that if a collaborative effort is not made soon to fight against the warming of the planet, it could be too late for the future generations to do something about it. Well, we take a short break and come back with more news. Stay close.
Come one, come all. It's time to join in the Tobago Heritage Festival 2023. Homage. All are we and all are who we be. To Tobago. Indulge in the awesomeness that is embodied in the spirit of Tobago at the 36th Tobago Heritage Festival. Celebrate a rich, vibrant, hypnotic showcase of our cultural legacy. Yes, from July 21st to August 1st, 2023. Take the island tour. Sample the sumptuous variety of local indigenous delicacies. Enjoy the recreation of old-time village life. Dance to the drum. Feel the rhythm of steel pan. Experience the way of life, languages and oral traditions. Be part of the journey to our heritage, honoring our past, celebrating our present and inspiring our future. Relive our unique culture. Join in the preservation of the heritage of we island of Tobago.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up and look, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look out below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look out below, 'cause this is your show.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger.
The only one I see is you.
Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
With the details.
THA wants to build out 2 mega farms in Tobago, one focused on poultry production and the other focused on growing root crops and other produce. Technocrats from the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development told the Joint Select Committee of Parliament that the initiative is estimated to cost $51.8 million. However, Secretary Natisha Charles Panton stated that obtaining funding is difficult.
Agriculture is one of the divisions that we hardly receive funding because of the allocation is very small. And we have been creative enough to tap into funds externally from international agencies. We've been liaising with other divisions. We've been liaising with Trinidad, to get the support that we need.
As a result, they are gradually developing mega farms and have already taken the first steps.
So they have been doing it in phases, training them, giving them small amounts of chicken, giving them the technical assistance, providing the support up front, the chicken, the feed, veterinary assistance.
Simultaneously, the division's market research and investigative unit is assisting the technocrats to determine how policies would be implemented to support the mega farms and other agricultural initiatives, according to the agro-investment specialist, Karen Shaw.
Currently, we have a farmer survey that is on the ground where we're trying to capture what the active farmers that we have. We have a number of farmers that are registered on the system, but we may not know who are active and what they are doing, how much they're doing, the volumes, the varieties, and so.
Tobago's farmers would provide the labor on the mega farms with technical support from the division.
Once we know what the majority of things that we are importing, then we could look to put strategies in place to do some food, reduce our import bill, whether it's from Trinidad or from abroad.
Already 60 poultry farmers in Tobago were incorporated into a pilot project, which will lead to the development of one of the mega farms. The division said they are aiming to produce 250,000 chickens monthly, which is the estimated number of birds consumed on the island. I am Candice Jackson, reporting for Tobago Updates Television News.
Foreign and local artists who performed at the Tobago Jazz Experience 2023 were paid, but suppliers are still awaiting payment. This was explained by CEO of the Tobago Festivals Commission, John Arnold, as the Joint Select Committee of Parliament inquired about the management of the THA. And senior reporter Candice Jackson with more.
Despite a $12 million budget for the Tobago Jazz Experience in April, only foreign and local artists were compensated. However, the CEO of the Tobago Festivals Commission, John Arnold, explained that they owe $6.4 million to vendors.
The only people we have now are the other suppliers, the marketing people, and other suppliers in the space.
Arnold told the Joint Select Committee that the Tobago Festivals Commission was dependent on the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation for the releases. Providing more clarity on the situation, the administrator from the division, Suresh Duku, explained that they are doing their best to provide the money for payment.
The division is working closely with the Division of Finance to source the funds for this $6 million. And we are working extremely hard because we understand the small man needs his payment also.
Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and members of the Executive Council are on record stating late disbursements from the THA from central government are affecting cash flows to pay contractors, suppliers and workers on time. Meanwhile, the JSC questioned Arnold about the profitability of the Tobago Jazz experience. He explained that in 2017 and 2018, studies were conducted. The study supported that the hosting of jazz was viable.
It identified the fact that the jazz experience was an institutionalized festival, meaning that they saw it as one that fitted the same category as some of the other major festivals in the Caribbean.
However, the attraction of the festival was damaged by the inter-island connectivity issues.
And two, they looked at the fact that we did have a problem on the sea bridge, and we did have problems on the air bridge, and we also had a problem in terms of having the right artists because you were using smaller budgets.
To offset some of the costs of hosting the 2023 edition, Arnold reported they secured $330,000 in sponsorship from Carib and B-Mobile.
But however, in kind, we did get about $830,000 worth, and those sponsors would have been several sponsors. We had over 8 to 10 other sponsors that were involved.
I am Candice Jackson reporting for Tobago Updates Television News.
Although we are no longer in the COVID-19 pandemic, the risks remain. Although COVID-19 cases in the country continue to decline, the Ministry of Health says it is important to remain vigilant. They encourage the population to get vaccinated and receive their boosters for the virus. In a press release today, the Ministry of Health announced that they received 5,760 doses of Pfizer vaccines from the government of Greece through the COVAX facility. They will be distributed to health facilities across the country, including Tobago, by July 12th. Well, the closing press conference for the 45th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting was held yesterday at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Port of Spain. Of the many regional issues discussed, the free movement of skills and people dominated the conversation. This is all tied to the fulfillment of the CARICOM single market and economy. Luke James Trim tells us more.
When questioned about the implementation of free movement of skills across the region, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, conveyed that there are some amendments to the treaty that would be fulfilled by 2024.
Suffice it to say that the heads have agreed that we are now moving beyond just the freedom of movement of skills to freedom of movement of people. Out of an abundance of caution and to be sure-footed, there are some aspects of the treaty that will require amendment, and therefore we are giving ourselves between now and the 30th of March 2024.
However, when questioned about visa requirements being lifted for Haiti with respect to free movement, Mottley expressed that Haiti's circumstances are unique.
The status quo remains. What we've said is that the Prime Minister of Haiti asked that the arrangements that we put in place for freedom of movement, that Haiti be excused from those arrangements, a derogation. And we have agreed, because Haiti's circumstances obviously different at this point, and it's a very delicate situation.
Incoming chairman of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Dominica Roosevelt Skerrit, the Prime Minister pointed to improving the efficiency of interregional travel as a matter being prioritized by CARICOM. However, it is still in the research stages at the moment.
We mandated the CDB to engage in a study and to examine air transport within the Caribbean community and to come up with some recommendations on how we should go about addressing this issue with the absence of LIAD.
Luke James Trim, Tobago Updates Television News.
Find out about the start of the Tobago Youth League when we return. Sport is next.
Dance Ensemble Tobago presents the return July 8th, 2023 from 5 p.m. Dance Sport Championship and Dancing with Caribbean Stars 10th edition at the Shore Park Complex, representing for 2023 THA Assemblyman Natisha Charles Panting. Rise and Shine morning show host Brother B, former host of Let's Talk Tobago, Avian Parks, Lady Morge of Pulse 89.5 FM, Cara Vaughan of Freedom 106.5 FM, Michelle Borrell of 107.7 FM. For more information, contact Tobago Dance Sport at gmail.com or Miss N White 772-9049 or Miss N Dick 340-5758. Admission only $150. Children only $75 at the door. Tickets available at D&D Jeweler, Tobago United Corporate, Milford 24 Gas Station, Crown Point, Tobago, and Dance Ensemble class members. After party from 10 p.m. till midnight. Don't you miss this one.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Are you looking for a place for your loved ones? Heavenly Care welcomes you. Located at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors, we offer a variety of services. These include doctor visitations, social activities, geriatric care, and much more. Contact us at 277-9595 or visit us at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors. At Heavenly Care, compassion is at the heart of all care.
The opening matches for the Tobago Football League saw a victory for FC Goodwood over Belgarden SC. At the same time, the Roxborough Lakers had a disappointing draw on their home ground against Castara Gold City. Sports reporter Marcus Daniel has all the details in this report.
5 goals were scored in the Tobago Football Association League's first round of matches yesterday at the Sid Gray Sporting Complex in Roxborough. The home team Roxborough Lakers had to settle for a draw after coming from behind. Up against northern rivals Castara Gold City, the Lakers conceded in the 35th minute when Anderson Taylor scored the first of a double for Castara. The Eastern Giants found their equalizer in the 61st minute and then scored another 6 minutes later. Both goals came off the boot of Shaquem Melville. However, the Lakers failed to close out the game and conceded a 90th minute item to start their campaign with a point. In the second game of yesterday's doubleheader, Lennox Eastman was the lone scorer in a 1-0 win for FC Goodwood over Belgarden SC. Eastman found the net in the 67th minute of a very competitive affair. No games occurred on Thursday as the TFA executive sat for their mandatory annual general meeting. The action resumes on Friday with 3 matches on the cards. In the Central Conference, Leeds United would face up against Golden Lane FC at Moriah. Eagles United will make their league debut against Singland Hill United at Singland Hill. And in the Western Conference, defending champions 1976 FC Phoenix will take on Hills United at Cordon. All games will kick off simultaneously at 5:30 p.m. Marcus Daniel, Tobago Update Sports.
For the first time in history, the West Indies failed to qualify for the ICC World Cup. Their failure drew harsh criticism from one of Tobago's most prolific cricketers. Speaking on last night's Cricket Debaters show, Navin Stewart said the West Indies team showed they applied little strategy in their approach to the World Cup qualifiers. Here's Marcus Daniel once again with the details.
Former Trinidad and Tobago player Navin Stewart and sportscaster James Saunders believe a lack of strategy, among other things, led to the demise of the West Indies cricket team at the current ICC Men's World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe. Defeats to Zimbabwe, Netherlands and Scotland resulted in West Indies missing out on the one-day international World Cup later this year in India. According to Stewart, he knew West Indies would have had a hard time beating the Minnows.
Scotland, Netherlands, they all participate in tournaments here in the US, and having shared dressing rooms and shared the playing fields with these guys, I knew what they were capable of. And I knew once it came down to taking the game deep, anything past 20 overs, these guys have a lot of knowledge. These guys have a lot of experience.
Saunders questioned whether the West Indies should now be considered a minnow given the recent results. The experienced sportscaster also raised the issue of how the game is managed by the administrators of Cricket West Indies.
When you listen deeply to the players speak, it has always come back to the way that the game has been run administratively. And, you know, since the days of the older players, we've been hearing that. And, you know, we've got to ask ourselves, has anything changed administratively with the way that West Indies cricket is run? Is it run professionally enough? Because these players, of course, will be exposed to the top-level competition, top-level administrative side of things. And then when you come back to the West Indies and, you know, you can't even get proper training kits.
Marcus Daniel, Tobago Update Sports.
And that's it for sport, but we have more news right after this.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice car get damaged bad, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry. If your house get flooded out real bad, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. If sickness catch you off guard, I tell them never ever worry. If times fall on you real hard, I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
October will never be better with Tobago Carnival fever. Book your passage and come on over.
Celebrating a century is a momentous occasion that represents a remarkable journey. As Olive Williams and Annabella Hercules celebrated their birthdays in March, the Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, Pastor Terence Baines, visited both centenarians at their homes on Friday, 30th June 2023. They are in fact cousins and both expressed gratitude towards the division for the hampers and certificates they received. Williams said the recognition made her feel special, and Hercules shared some wisdom, saying, "Do the right thing today and you will have no regrets tomorrow." Secretary Baines congratulated both women on their achievements and thanked them for their contribution to the social landscape of Tobago. Well, today, July 6, marks World Zoonoses Day. To educate Tobagonians about the day and its significance, veterinarian Todd Denoon appeared on the Tobago Mid-Morning Brunch Show. Here is more in this story.
Centenarian Dr. Todd Denoon claimed that because zoonosis is not a frequent issue, it is not discussed in society. Many animal lovers are not aware of it.
So first and foremost, a zoonosis is a disease that can be transmitted between humans and animals under normal circumstances. It can be transmitted either directly, so through contact, being in the same environment, but even oftentimes it can be transmitted indirectly with intermediate vectors, so like a mosquito, an intermediate animal, etc., or even the food that we consume, which again would be sort of direct contact with it.
World Zoonosis Day, according to Denoon, honors the contribution of chemist Louis Pasteur, who invented vaccines in the 19th century. Those vaccines were modernized and are frequently used in today's society.
July 6th is recognized as World Zoonosis Day because it's the anniversary of when he administered the first rabies vaccine. And again, we speak about rabies because rabies is one of the most noted zoonoses that is still around.
Denoon said that although there are many different forms of zoonosis, it is categorized based on distribution and location. In Trinidad and Tobago, there is a small group and they have not recorded many cases.
You have parasitic zoonoses such as tapeworms, so that speaks about where we're getting our meat from, how we prepare our meat. Fungal zoonoses such as ringworm, very common. Not a worm, it's an actual fungus. Viruses such as rabies, and prions, which would be bovine spongiform encephalopathy or mad cow disease.
Zoonoses are easily spread through direct and indirect contact with pets. This is Tanika Cruikshank for Tobago Updates Television News.
Recapping the headlines, THA Secretary concerned about the implementation of procurement legislation. Mega farms are to be established in phases. CARICOM prioritizes inter-regional travel and in sport. Goodwood FC scores first win in Tobago Football League. I'm Patricia Nicholson-Richards. Thank you so much for joining us and wishing you a good night.